Hi, welcome to Crime Clueless. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
I'm Lara.
I'm Krista.
And I'm Kayla.
How's everybody doing?
Doing good. How about you?
Good. Now that we've got some caffeine and
Some snacks. Yep.
Yes, and we have all of us here, which is always the
Yay.
best.
Mhm.
So glad Krista's back.
Yes.
Me too. And we got to see each other earlier this week. We went and did a paint night.
Yeah.
So
It's fun.
fun.
It's fun. If you've never done one, go do one. Even if you're terrible at art, like me.
It was
No.
so much fun.
You did so good.
Everyone's
Yours
turned out really
great.
cute.
It's nice when they already have like the circle that you need in there.
Yes.
The
I
hardest
cannot.
part.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Not
can't draw a
circle.
perfect circle.
No, when they have that and then they tell you exactly step by step how to do it,
Always helpful.
always helpful. So we had fun doing that.
Yes. I like when they put those things in there for you. It's like when I do the cookie decorating classes and they want you to write boo on the, I'm like, I cannot freehand a circle with frosting on a cookie. But sometimes they like print them out for you, like make them and something you
Oh.
can just put on.
I
I'm like,
like
I
that.
prefer that because it looks way nicer.
Mhm.
I didn't realize how hard that was until I tried to do that on top of cake one time. And our
Yes.
mom used to make cakes for all of our birthdays and write
Oh, yeah.
so
Her handwriting
easily.
is perfect on a cake.
Yes.
I don't
And Krista
understand.
to do that.
She's so good at that.
So good.
Yes. I did her birthday cake last year and it was the German chocolate. So I had the coconut on top. I scraped what I wrote off like 8 times at
Yeah,
least.
it's hard.
She makes it look so easy.
And
I know.
hers is always like perfectly centered. Mine's like
Yes.
going off the side. I'm like, oh, dang
You run
it.
out-
I'm
you
like,
run out of
how
room for
small can I
birthday.
write day at the bottom? Just
I know.
make it.
That was not
Happy.
a talent
No.
that was passed down to us.
No. And
I'd be like,
she's
where am
so
I going to
good.
write their name? I started way too low. This is not good.
No.
It's always
No.
looked so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why her moon was so amazing.
Yeah.
Paint night.
You did a great job.
Yeah. Oh, this case I have for you today is just so crazy. All the elements that come into it. I'm really excited to tell it to you. Should we jump in?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm excited.
Let's do it.
It's a crisp fall morning in 2001 when a father takes his 2 kids fishing. He has a 13-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter. They're casting the fishing line into Galveston Bay, waiting for the fish to bite. The son, while he's waiting, he's walking up and down the shore, just checking out the sights, waiting for the fish to bite. He spots something in the water and says, "Hey, that looks like a body." He calls his dad over, who thinks, no way, it could not be a body just in the water. But to his horror, he discovers that his son is right. So they hurry back to the car and call the police.
Oof, that'd be terrifying.
Yeah. Can you imagine discovering that?
No. Especially as a 13-year-old.
I know.
That's
Oof.
sad.
That's really awful. Police arrive pretty quickly. They discover a dismembered torso with
Ugh.
the arms, legs, and head missing.
Oh.
Okay,
Even
that's
worse.
even worse. Yeah.
Yep. They start scouring the area. They're looking for other remains. It's got to be here somewhere. They discover 1 bag, then 2. A total of 3 additional bags are found containing the arms and legs of an elderly man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So they're like, okay, we got to figure out how this is. The tech who conducted the autopsy confirmed that the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the face. I'm not entirely sure how he discovered that because unfortunately they never found the head.
Wait.
Oh. How
Mhm.
did they decide that?
What?
I'm not sure if they just knew it was a gunshot wound to a part of the body that wasn't found.
How would they decide that though if they didn't find
If it was in the river, I mean, could there still be like residue from a gunshot?
Probably, depending on how close range.
If they were in bags too, like on the arms or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's possible.
That seems very inventive.
Yeah.
I mean,
decide that
Not very conclusive.
without finding
Yeah.
yeah.
the head.
So I'm not exactly sure how quick, but that's what they found in the autopsy. As police are pulling out these garbage bags, they're realizing they actually have garbage in them too. They discovered receipts for garbage bags, a drop cloth, and a bone saw. They
I'm sorry. It's not funny, but it's like, okay, here's everything I bought to do this.
Yes. Let me just tie
here's
it up in
all
a bag.
the evidence that you need to come find me.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We're working with a
Genius.
Yeah, no. They also found a shower shoe. They found fabric, blue plastic cups, paper towels, bloody towels, one flip-flop, and most important, there was a USA Today with an address label still on it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Maybe put that in a different bag besides the arm of the person that you offed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe a good idea.
It's like I'm taking out the garbage anyways. I'll just use
Right?
these bags.
No.
I don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good. Maybe we can find this person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're going to find him. This one is not unsolved per se, just parts of it.
Okay.
All right.
Let's
So
do it.
they run the prints of the body, and they belong to a man named Morris Black. Police trace the man back to a small home on Avenue K in Galveston. Morris Black lived in this modest fourplex apartment. When detectives talked to his family and people who knew him, they didn't have the kindest things to say about him.
Oh.
They said he was pretty demanding and that he had a short temper. They called him gruff and said that if he didn't like something, he had no problem going and protesting in front of a business or someone's house, whatever the case may be. However, investigators didn't get the vibe that this man would attract some sort of murderer or anything like what had happened to him. Investigators went to the apartment and they're looking around outside. You know, they're just kind of getting a vibe for the area. In the trash outside the apartment, they find garbage bags that match the one that was found with Morris. The drop cloth that was on the receipt, because in the garbage bags, it was just the bag that the drop cloth had come in. So now they found the actual drop cloth and more paper towels matching the ones that they found. They look in a second trash can right next to it. They find a .22 caliber pistol, a shell casing, and also mixed in this stuff, a receipt for an eye exam for a man named Robert Durst with an address on it for the apartment right across the hall from Morris. So detectives go to the landlord and ask if they can talk to the residents that are living in this fourplex. They want, obviously, to start with Robert Durst because that's mixed in with all of the stuff in the trash that is connected to the murder.
Mhm.
Right.
The landlord said, no one by that name lives here. The tenant in the apartment across from Morris is a nice older woman named Dorothy Sinner. He tells them that Dorothy had lived there since 2000, and we're in 2001, and has never had any issues. He says he doesn't know who Durst is, but then he says that Dorothy did rent the apartment with the help of her brother-in-law. He had set everything up because Dorothy has some condition that affected her larynx, and so she couldn't speak. The landlord said that in the few times he had communicated with Dorothy, it had been through handwritten notes. So they go in to talk to the other tenants in this fourplex, who tells them, one of them says that on the night in question, she had seen a man loading black garbage bags into a silver Honda in the parking lot of the fourplex.
Oh.
Now, because of everything found with Morris and then in the garbage cans, they have enough to get a search warrant to go into both apartments. And when they did, oh boy, when police entered Dorothy's apartment, they found it spattered with blood on the walls, on the floor, and then there's a trail of blood from one apartment to the next. They also found evidence that someone had attempted to clean up. Investigators also found a 4-inch paring knife and bloody boots, male boots.
This was in Dorothy's apartment, all of this?
Mm-hmm.
Does she actually exist?
She exists.
Oh.
They also found blood outside the apartment building in the parking lot. So now they're thinking, okay, must be connected to that silver Honda.
Mm-hmm.
Have they talked to Dorothy yet, or they just are searching her apartment?
They're just searching the apartments and she's not home.
Okay.
So they call in crime scene techs and they find the apartment kind of odd beyond, everything related to the murder. There was very little furniture, only a futon, a small table, and a TV. They said the stove looked like it had never been used and the fridge was empty. They could also tell someone had attempted to clean up blood in the apartment, and when they pulled up the tile, they found blood had seeped through and was all underneath.
Oof.
And when they tested it, it would prove to be Morris's blood. Going off of what the other neighbor had told them about the silver Honda, detectives ran a check for vehicles registered to the address Dorothy lived at. They got a hit for a silver Honda registered to Robert Durst. Wondering if this could be Dorothy's brother-in-law, police went back to the landlord with a picture of Durst and asked if he recognized him. Bingo. The landlord confirmed that yes, this was the brother-in-law. Then he looked at the picture for a while and said, "I know what? This kind of looks like Dorothy."
Oh.
That's what I was just thinking. I'm like, they're the same. It's the same person. That's why they won't talk. So no one knows that.
Well, yeah, as soon as you said her brother-in-law helped and she had, issues with, like, no. He's using her name so that his name isn't on the apartment lease.
Uh-huh. But it was on his car and clearly his
Everything
eye exams.
else.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So the landlord's like, aha, moment here. I think this man is Dorothy, who's been living in this apartment. And in fact, Dorothy never existed. The older woman was really a wealthy New York man in disguise. None other than real estate heir Robert Durst, on the run and really hiding in plain sight. So Robert Durst comes from the powerful Durst family of New York City, and we'll get more into them in a little bit. He had been living as a mute woman named Dorothy Sinner in this fourplex in Galveston for about 6 months, maybe a little longer. And now her, or rather his neighbor, was dead and in pieces. Robert Durst was actually already a person of interest into other mysteries, and police were wondering if they could even find him. They know how much money he is worth, right? So a nationwide manhunt ensued. A few days later, on October 9th, 2001, an officer spotted a silver Honda and pulled the driver over. When he asked for ID, he was given a Holiday Inn Express hotel card with the name Jim Truss. No, sir, that is not ID. He refused to give any other ID, so he was asked to step out of the car. Police searched it. Inside, they found another bone saw, a handgun, and a bag of marijuana. They placed the man under arrest and pretty quickly learned that that was Durst. Durst's bail was set at $250,000 and posted pretty much immediately. He then promptly took laying low to a new level. He fled Texas entirely. For 7 weeks, the fugitive hopped from state to state, even stalking his own brother with a loaded pistol out of some sense of vengeance, which we'll also dig into. The law finally caught up with him, not through brilliant detective work, but because Durst is just ridiculous. On November 30th, 2001, police in Pennsylvania nabbed him for shoplifting a chicken salad sandwich and Band-Aids from a Wegmans.
If you are being hunted, why would you shoplift?
Yep. The thrill.
Oh my gosh.
And he has a lot of money, right? Or is not right now?
He had $500 in his pocket.
And he stole a sandwich. Okay.
Yep. He also had $37,000 stashed in his rental car.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like he wanted to be caught.
He just wanted the thrill.
Yeah, the thrill.
Chicken sandwich.
And Band-Aids.
Like, what? You've managed to stay under the radar for 7 weeks and you shoplift a sandwich.
When you could have used cash, so it wouldn't have even been tied to you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess for him, when you're running from murder charges, shoplifting is a great idea. Officers were stunned to find Durst armed and packing not only the cash and cannabis, he also had Morris Black's driver's license and directions to a friend's home and a lot of clues traveling with a man who literally tried to steal lunch. When they asked Durst why he would risk stealing a sandwich while he was on the run, Durst replied, "I don't know why I did it. I guess I'm just an asshole."
Okay.
Gosh.
What an answer.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines that I've read.
Oh, man.
Really?
Well, lucky for detectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Detectives later revealed some interesting details from the time he was on the run. They had tracked him across several states. He had rented a car using Morris's ID, and they don't look alike. I mean, okay. He had used at least 6 aliases, which he, quote, came up with from former classmates or people he had hired, like a former handyman. He had posed as a woman at least twice, wig and all. He didn't access bank accounts or use credit cards, though, while he was on the run. When he was hauled back to Texas, Galveston prosecutors were salivating. Finally, they had Robert Durst in custody. In 2003, he stood trial for capital murder in the death and dismemberment of Morris Black. The evidence was beyond bizarre. Durst had used an assortment of blades, 2 saws, an axe, and even a paring knife, but not the bone saw that was found in his car when he was arrested. Just a spare, I guess.
Just in case.
Mhm.
You never know when you need one when you're on the run, I guess.
Right. He admitted to all of that on the stand with a straight face. As Durst himself put it in court, "I did not kill my best friend, but I did dismember him."
His best friend?
Yep.
Sounds
you
like a
heard that correctly.
sociopath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Robert told the jury that he only chopped up his dear pal's body after a tragic accident, but he absolutely did not murder him. And you could hear jaws hitting the floor in the courtroom. Durst's defense team, led by legendary Houston attorney Dick DeGuerin, had cooked up a truly ballsy strategy. They portrayed Morris Black as this irritable, short-tempered busybody who meddled with Durst's business and also shared his interest in guns. According to Durst's testimony on the stand on the night of September 28th, 2001, he came home to find Black in his apartment waving around Durst's own .22 caliber pistol. The 2 men fought over it. Bruises later found on Black's corpse supposedly showed signs of a struggle. Then came the literal smoking gun. Durst claimed they tumbled to the floor and the pistol accidentally fired, sending a bullet straight into Black's skull. Black, he said, died instantly, and conveniently, his head, the one part that could disprove this story, was never found. I still don't know what happened to that.
I really want to know where it went.
Me too.
Did they search? I'm assuming they searched the lake for it, like
Mhm.
comb through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably in a landfill or something.
Probably. So Durst was panicked and he was certain that no one would believe his "it was an accident" story. Durst told the jury that he decided to dispose of his friend's body like a bag of garbage. And he described in chilling detail how he laid out plastic tarps and used a paring knife and axe to meticulously dissect the corpse in his bathtub.
Oh my gosh.
It's awful.
That's so creepy.
No one will believe me. Guess I might as well just carry out this murder plan. I don't.
Mhm.
Not that I already bought the drop cloth and all that
Thank
stuff.
you.
Yeah.
The premeditation there is
Yes.
stunning.
I already had the bone saw.
I mean, I
Decided
was
not to use
planning
it,
to
but-
do it, but then he conveniently shot himself. So then I just got to do the rest of what I wanted to do, but I didn't kill him.
For those receipts, were they from an earlier day? Like it didn't happen and then he went to the store and got stuff, right?
That's a good question.
Because they found the receipts. I wonder if they were
Yeah.
from a different day.
I'm wondering if he bought the axes too, because, they said his apartment had basically nothing in it.
Yeah.
You just have 2 axes lying around.
Yeah.
He had to have bought that too.
I think so.
Yeah.
But that's what I wonder if it was from earlier days or if it happened and then he went to the store and bought it.
And
'Cause he had
yeah.
the receipts.
I'm not sure how they know exactly what day it happened either. If the receipt, say he was saying it happened on the 10th, the receipt was the 9th. Maybe
Yeah.
it did happen on the 9th. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll have to look that one up. On the stand, Robert had told the jury that he remembered blood everywhere. He said, like I was looking down and swimming in blood.
Yeah.
A scene straight out of a horror film.
Mhm.
Yet Robert continued to maintain that this behavior was simply the reaction of an innocent man in shock. Prosecutor Joel Bennett, eyes practically rolling out of his head, reminded jurors how absurd this all sounded. You don't butcher somebody, put him in pieces, bag him up, dump him in the bay because of an accident. Indeed, dismemberment is not exactly the hallmark of a clean conscience. But in one of the most shocking twists of this already twisted tale, the Texas jury bought Durst's self-defense story. Or at least they didn't find proof beyond a reasonable doubt that he intended to kill. It did take the jury a full week of deliberation. And while they were deliberating, they had the court reporter come in to read them parts of his testimony multiple times.
Interesting.
A long time.
The problem is they weren't given the option of a lesser sentence. So they were given capital murder, which has to be premeditated with intent, or nothing.
Oh.
And I think the prosecution was like, we literally have receipts. We have the evidence. Let's get him on this capital murder charge so that we get him in prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in November 2003, Robert Durst was acquitted of the murder.
Wow.
The same guy who calmly confessed to sawing up his neighbor's body walked out of court a free man.
Wow.
Almost. As The Guardian later noted, Durst's high-priced lawyers somehow pulled off the seemingly impossible. This was, like I said, in part because of the capital murder. He didn't escape completely unscathed. He did plead guilty to evidence tampering and bail jumping. Hard to deny, given what we know about this and, him going cross-country. For those charges, he got in total 5 years. He had already served 2. So he only had to stay about 3 more years. And then by 2005, he was paroled. Part of his parole was to never go back to the fourplex where this all happened. And so he was paroled in 2005. That's only 4 years. So he did get out a little bit early. Durst, being Durst, could not follow those rules. Within months, he violated parole by making an unauthorized pilgrimage back to Galveston, dropping by the very fourplex where he had killed This stunt got him thrown back in jail for a bit until a judge released him in 2006. One might say Robert had the luck of the devil, or at least the luck of a rich man who could afford extremely good attorneys. The Morris Black case, sensational as it was, is really just one small chapter in the bizarre saga of Robert Durst. To truly understand how a soft-spoken New York millionaire could end up dismembering his neighbor in Texas, we have to rewind. Who is Robert Durst and what dark path led him there? Robert Allen Durst was born on April 12, 1943, with the proverbial silver spoon in his mouth. He was the eldest child of 4 to Seymour Durst, who was a prominent Manhattan real estate mogul, basically, and his wife, Bernice. The Durst family was enormously wealthy. They owned skyscrapers, had their name on Manhattan landmarks. Young Bobby grew up in a mansion in Scarsdale, New York. The development firm that Seymour was a partner at recently was appraised at $8.1 billion.
Oh.
Behind the curtain, though, there was turmoil. When Robert was just 7, his mother died in a very tragic way. She either fell or jumped from the roof of their home one night in 1950. Robert later claimed that his father woke him up and led him to the window in time to see his mother standing on the roof in her nightgown right before she jumped or fell.
Well, sad.
Yeah.
That's a little traumatic.
Yeah.
He says, and there was Mommy, I waved at Mommy, saying that he never forgot the horror of seeing her fall.
Yeah.
However, his brother says that this claim is bogus. He actually, in one interview, said that Robert wasn't even home the night it happened. So, I mean, we can either believe his brother, who's now leading the Durst Company, or we can believe Robert. I know which way I lean, but you can choose.
He also was only 7. He could have honestly dreamed it and believed that it actually did happen.
Yeah. I kind of feel like he uses it to create his own mythology, like his origin story for his troubles. But some neighbors that lived around them said that she had been just standing out there. And so they had called the fire department. And when they were going to put a ladder up to get her, they said she was like, no, I'm okay. I can go back. And then she slipped and fell. There are others that say that didn't happen and she jumped. So it's very muddled.
There's no clear story of what happened.
Right. Douglas says that all the Durst children were kept far away. No one saw anything that night. The Durst clan privately acknowledged that her death probably was a suicide, but newspapers at the time called it an accident. Either way, Robert was the oldest at 7. It left 4 really small children without their mother. So sad. It also seems that Seymour didn't handle this well. I'm sure it was horrible for him. However, he had 4 small children that needed him, and he kind of retreated into himself and spent all of his focus on work. He'd go to work for really long days, come home, go into his office at home. And so he hired nannies and other caregivers to care for the home and the children and everything. It was a huge adjustment on all of them. A psychiatrist who examined 10-year-old Robert in 1953 wrote that the boy showed signs of personality decomposition and possibly even schizophrenia. The Durst parents had also put Robert and Douglas in counseling for what they called severe sibling rivalry and behavioral issues. In short, it seems like he had some trauma. Whether he saw it or not, he still lost his mom at a pretty early age. So we can feel bad for the child, even though we don't feel bad for the adult. As he was growing up, classmates described him as a loner, calling him awkward and aloof. Even though he was introverted, he did try to fit in by joining numerous clubs like Spanish Club, the JV soccer team, the camera club. He was smart enough to earn a degree in economics from Lehigh University in 1965. He was planning to go into real estate and join the family business. This focus shifted for Durst when he joined the anti-war movements that were growing across the country at this time, especially on college campuses. His dad, well, he didn't really like this. He wanted Robert to focus on school, and really, his plan all along was to have Robert take over for him one day. It kind of seems to be the first time that Robert had broken away and wasn't following exactly what his dad was telling him to do, kind of where he started to develop his own identity. After college, Durst headed to the West Coast for graduate school. He landed at UCLA, where he did something productive. He met a vivacious young woman named Susan Berman. Susan, just like Robert, came from a wealthy background. She was the daughter of a Las Vegas mobster, David Berman. David Berman took over the Flamingo Hotel in 1947 after the previous owner, notorious Bugsy Siegel, was shot to death, and the shooter was never identified. Yeah.
Suspicious.
We'll have to cover that sometime, maybe. Or maybe not. We can stay away from mob things. Susan was an outgoing writer who took a liking to shy Robert. The two had an instant connection and formed a close friendship that would weave throughout Robert's life for decades. Put a pin in Susan. She'll be important later. Oh, and the two never dated. They were just friends along the way. Durst didn't finish his doctorate while he was at UCLA. He dropped out in 1969 and returned to New York City. Back in New York, Robert kind of half-heartedly tried to join the family business because his dad was really pushing him to. It never really stuck. He kind of had decided that he was a free spirit. In the early 70s, he moved to Middlebury, Vermont, and opened a health food store named All Good Things. Don't think he did this on his own. His dad bankrolled the whole thing. I get the feeling that he was trying to placate Robert and kind of get this, quote, phase out of his system. Fun fact, this store inspired a Hollywood movie that we'll come back to. His father bought the property for the store and told Robert he had to be in charge of the property while he was running it. The property came with a tenant, 19-year-old Kathie McCormick. Kathie was beautiful, bright. She was from a modest Catholic family, which kind of was a world apart from Durst's high society Jewish upbringing. Once Robert took over the property, Kathie quickly pointed out the things she needed repaired, and he found her spunky, strong, and outgoing and fell for her immediately. He liked that she was like, hey, we've got a door to fix here. We've got a window. Whatever the things were.
Great, you're here. Fix this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He asked her out. They went out twice before Robert asked her to move in with him, which was January 1972. Things at the store were not great. And on top of that, Seymour was really pushing Robert to return to New York and join the family business. His brother says in an interview in 2015 that he always thought Seymour just really loved Robert. Like he says he was the favorite. Anytime he was, in Vermont or California, talk about him all the time, wanted him moving back home. He's been pushing him to return. And finally he was like, okay, we'll come give this a try. So Robert and Kathie moved to New York in early 1973. The two were quickly married just a couple months into 73. By all appearances, they were a chic Manhattan pair. He's this quirky real estate titan. She is a spunky, aspiring doctor. She had started nursing school when they moved to New York. Friends thought they were happy at first. In fact, one friend was quoted saying, they were earthy, downright regular people. I thought he was a caring, loving husband. I know Kathie was in love with him. Despite being regular people, they were living in the most expensive penthouse the Durst organization owned on Riverside Drive. It came complete with beautiful panoramic views of the Hudson River. Kathie had thought that when she married Robert, she would have the finer things in life. He's incredibly wealthy, right? Things that she'd never been able to dream of growing up. But, well, Robert wasn't interested in any of that. People were always drawn to Robert, and she thought she'd get to know the upper class in New York City, but she found herself not really in the situation that she had imagined. She wasn't a fan with how much time Robert spent with Susan either. Susan moved to New York in the mid-70s after she got a job with Us magazine. With all of this combined, Kathie found herself bored and after nursing school decided to enroll in medical school. Behind closed doors, the marriage was crumbling. Robert grew increasingly controlling and abusive towards Kathie as the years went on. By 1981, Kathie was in her final year of medical school and she was going to become a pediatrician. Durst, though, he seemed to be spiraling. They were leading very separate lives by this point. He was having an affair with another woman, multiple women. One of note was Prudence Farrow, who's Mia Farrow's sister. And he often stayed at a separate apartment that he had in Manhattan. Kathie confided to her friends that Robert was physically violent. One time he had given her a nasty black eye that sent her to the hospital for treatment of facial bruises. And she only went because her friend was like, hey, you're considering how to get out of this marriage by this point.
Document that.
Yeah.
Document that.
Yeah.
Go get it documented.
Well, especially where he has so much money.
And power. Yeah.
Yep. She told another friend that Durst had beaten her, and she never pressed actual charges on any of those. The abuse was escalating, though, and Kathie was actively working on a way out. She started meeting with a divorce attorney, and she asked Robert for a $250,000 divorce settlement in early January 1982. He responded by cutting off her financial support for medical school. Oh, such a jerk.
Yes.
Kathie moved out of their shared penthouse, and at this point, she was just a couple months away from graduating because we're talking April, and it's the end of January now.
Wow.
So close.
Mm-hmm. So tensions are sky high between the two. On January 30th, 1982, Robert and Kathie drove from Manhattan to Trousdale Lake in South Salon. The plan was to spend a weekend away for just the two of them in a vacation home they had. Maybe some time together, just them, away from the chaos of the city, would help repair their relationship, they thought.
Oh, I'm not seeing a good ending to this.
No.
On January 31st, 1982, Kathie showed up at a neighbor's house. Her name was Ruth, out in the country. She asked to borrow a hat and a scarf. She said she had forgotten to bring hers and she wanted to go for a walk. As Kathie was walking away, Ruth called out that she was having people over for dinner. Kathie told her she already had plans that evening, but thank you for the offer. In later interviews, Ruth couldn't remember if Kathie said she was taking a walk alone or not. That afternoon is actually the last time anyone ever saw Kathie.
Oh.
After her walk, she called her friend Gilbert Najimy. She said she needed to get away and could she come over? He said, yeah, of course. She showed up in red sweatpants, which was something he found unusual because he said she was always super stylish and always looked really put together. He also said that it looked like she hadn't combed her hair in days. Now, like I said, people had heard bits and pieces of what was going on in Kathie and Robert's marriage, but that afternoon, Kathie opened up a lot more. She confided that the abuse in the relationship had started when Kathie enrolled in medical school. Robert apparently found the idea of Kathie having any independence threatening. Being the tiny man that he was, he couldn't handle it. It escalated from her saying he slapped her to by 1981 saying that he was hitting her. At the same time, Robert had significantly increased his drug and alcohol use, and his affairs were more blatant. He seemed to find joy throwing them in her face anytime he was upset. Yeah. Interestingly, at the end of January, just a few days before she was last seen, Kathie confided in a few friends that she had discovered some potentially embarrassing financial information related to Robert and the Durst organization. She also told them that she had plans to send it to someone high up in the company. Like, no, don't do that.
No, don't tell anyone before you do anything.
No, and don't send it to someone who
in
maybe
the company can hide it.
Yeah, and has allegiances to their boss, who's one of the owners.
Send it to the newspaper.
Yeah, or a private
Leak it.
investigator
Yeah.
or something. Yeah. Unfortunately, she didn't tell her friends what the info was, but had implied that it would be very, very bad for Robert and his whole family. So remember, Kathie is at Najimy's home right now having this conversation. While they're talking, Robert has telephoned the house repeatedly. He's angry. He's screaming. He's demanding that Kathie return home to their country cottage. The last time he called was around 7 p.m. They argued for a few minutes, and then reluctantly, Kathie cut the visit short. She says, Bobby wants me home. He's really upset. And as she was leaving, and this gives me chills, she ominously told Najimy, if anything happens to me, check it out. I'm afraid of what Bobby will do.
If you ever feel that way, you shouldn't go.
Don't go
back. Oh, yeah.
Don't go. And that's the thing, too, is like in abusive relationships, when someone is about to leave, it's always the most dangerous. So she was never seen by anyone again after leaving Najimy's home. On February 4th, 4 days later, Robert went to the 20th precinct on West Street in New York City to report his wife, quote, missing. According to the story Durst gave police, he and Kathie had a marital spat at the cottage. He claimed he then drove her to the train station late that night so she could head back to their Manhattan apartment on Riverside Drive. Durst said the last time he saw her was when he put her on the 9:15 train to the city. He claimed they spoke by phone a bit after she got back to Manhattan. Allegedly, Kathie called from their apartment and they chatted while he remained upstate. In Durst's version, Kathie planned to attend class the next day in the city. He told detectives that Kathie sometimes worked really long days because she was doing her clinical training for medical school. He said it wasn't weird for him to not talk to her for 3 or 4 days.
Oh.
Which is why it took him 4 days to go to the police, I guess. Durst also told police that a doorman at their apartment building that night had seen Kathie arrive. And yes, one doorman and even the building superintendent initially claimed they'd glimpsed Kathie coming in, or at least a woman that they assumed was her. He said entering the apartment on February 1st, so that's the next day. But under scrutiny, that account fell apart. The doorman admitted that he only saw a woman from behind at a distance, and he couldn't be sure that it was Kathie. Later, a private investigator reported that the doorman actually recanted entirely, saying he hadn't seen Kathie at all, and that he might not have even been working that night.
Oh.
In other words, the supposed sighting was bogus.
And his bank account went up by how much?
Yeah.
Right? Detectives noted that while Robert was in there talking to them, he didn't seem emotional, not shaken up, nothing. He was flat as he told them all of this and was answering their questions. They took the info that Robert gave them and started digging. They found that someone identifying themselves as Kathie had phoned the Albert Einstein Medical College on February 1st to report she was ill and wouldn't be in class.
Probably was Robert.
Or one of his mistresses.
Yeah.
It wasn't Robert, but wasn't Kathie either. Now, remember, Robert had told police that she'd been in clinicals, which is why it had made sense that he hadn't heard from her for a few days. But if she was so sick she couldn't go to her clinicals, don't you think he would have known that? Or
You would think.
Or he would have heard from her sooner.
right. Meanwhile, two of Kathie's worried friends took matters into their own hands. When they learned that she was missing, it said they broke into this cottage that she had been at with Robert, hoping to find clues. They said what they found was alarming. The place was ransacked. Mail addressed to Kathie was unopened. Her belongings were tossed about, and some of her personal items, like school books, clothing, had been thrown in the trash. It looked for all the world as if someone had hurriedly tried to dispose of her things, or maybe was trying to cover up a struggle. Those friends immediately sensed foul play. They also knew about the violence in the marriage. One recalled Kathie saying that she was afraid of Robert, and with good reason. They never for 1 second believed that Robert was this grieving husband concerned about his wife. To be honest, some said he barely tried to play the part at all. About a week after Kathie went missing, the story was picked up by the press. Robert told one reporter he had hired a private investigator to find her because he said she was, of course, still alive. He said she graduates medical school in 3 months. Of course. The whole interview was really weird. He contradicts himself. He's trying to paint Kathie in a bad light, like she just ran off. It's really odd. Robert kind of pretended to play the grieving husband in public for a couple months. He did a few interviews, and then he retreated from the public view and never spoke about her again. He never gave another interview after that, and he stopped returning the detectives' calls, which is wild, and they found that highly suspicious. Crucially, Kathie's family, the McCormicks, also never believed Robert's story. Her mother, Anne, and her sisters sensed that from day one, Robert had harmed Kathie. Within weeks, Anne tried to get the police to investigate Robert, and they did attempt a $100 million wrongful death lawsuit against him in 1983, but it went nowhere. The case sadly sat as a missing person cold file for years, partly because of Durst's misdirection that pointed investigators towards Manhattan instead of the likely crime scene, their house in South Salon. As The Guardian later noted, early leads were lost because Durst and others misled the police into thinking they needed to investigate in New York and not in Westchester, where prosecutors now believe she was killed. And Kathie's body has never been found to this day, and there's no certainty about how she died. But among those who knew her, the conclusion was chillingly clear. In the words of Kathie's brother, Jim, he said, "Bob Durst killed my sister in 1982. None, absolutely none of us doubt it."
So sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's so sad.
Especially for her family to never have any answers and never know.
Mm-hmm.
And to never have Robert be held accountable when
Yeah.
they know it was him.
Yeah.
Yes.
To never get that justice.
Ugh, it's not fair.
No.
and the family did endure decades of agony with no justice. They later revealed even more about the abuse Kathie suffered. Jim recalled a disturbing incident shortly before her disappearance. At a holiday party, Robert got so angry that Kathie wanted to stay longer. He grabbed her by the hair in front of everyone and yanked her out the door.
Oh my gosh.
Her brother said, "My grandmother's eyes were as big as pizza pies."
If that's what he's doing in public,
Mm-hmm.
can't imagine what she endured behind closed doors.
It's so awful, horrific. And this next one is even worse. Kathie wrote in a secret diary that Robert forced her to get an abortion in 1976. And on the drive to the clinic, he dumped a bottle of water on her head. It's so awful. And at that point,
awful.
they had been married for 3 years.
You can't force that decision on someone else. That is her
Right.
decision entirely.
Yeah.
Right. And that's 6 years before she went missing. That's
Mhm.
a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Awful.
yeah, we can tell by her friends, her family, her writings, even his family has not nice things to say about him, that the marriage was full of abuse and his control. So, like we mentioned, when Kathie vanished, Robert's behavior did not scream worried husband. He lawyered up immediately and remained aloof. According to one anecdote, when Kathie's med school called him in early February to say that she hadn't been to classes for a couple days, Robert coldly replied that he figured she was out someplace having fun. Yeah.
When you're the one that probably did something to her, that's pretty, I don't know, messed up to
Despicable.
report it that way. Yeah.
Despicable. In 1990, Kathie is still missing. Robert divorced her in absentia on grounds of spousal abandonment. In his affidavit to the court, Durst claimed that after she left their home on January 31st, he received no communication from his wife.
Gee.
Yeah. Of course, he neglected to mention that he likely knew exactly why no communication came. He was responsible. By the early 90s, Robert Durst had grown estranged from his own powerful family as well. He'd always assumed he'd just inherit the throne, even though he didn't like it and didn't spend time there, and reportedly enjoyed peeing in garbage cans in his uncle's office.
Okay.
Real stand up person here.
Yeah. To his great bitterness, his father Seymour decided in 1992 that Robert was unfit and named his younger brother Douglas as successor instead. Robert was enraged. He believed Douglas had stolen the family business from him. The feud grew so intense that Robert effectively broke off ties with his siblings. In 1995, Seymour Durst was sick in the hospital, likely going to pass away. Robert would only go visit him if the entire rest of the family left the hospital that day. When Seymour died, Robert reportedly skipped the funeral. He later sued the family for his share of the business and in 2006 accepted a buyout of $65 million.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
This is after his whole murder trial.
Yeah,
And
that's
being
when
in
he got out
prison.
of prison the second time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So money was never Robert's problem, but being cut off from power was. By the late 90s, he was a millionaire, but he was a drifter. He didn't have a job at the family firm. He had very few real friends. He floated around the country, staying in cheap rentals, even as his bank account kept growing. All right. So we're leaving rich drifter Robert.
Alone and sad, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we're going to end part 1. Don't worry, part 2 is already ready for you. We didn't want to leave you hanging on this one. Pretty wild case so far, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
He is so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I've got so much more.
Oh, great.
Yeah, there's some jaw-dropping stuff still to come in this.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well-
can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ready to hear it
Exciting.
all.
Yes. Thank you so much for listening. We would love to hear your thoughts on Robert Durst. Have you heard this one before? What did you think? You can connect with us on socials. DM us or something. We're at Crime Clueless on Instagram and Facebook and all the socials. If you liked this episode and found it as wild as we have so far, we'd love if you share it. You can find Crime Clueless on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Prime, iHeart, all major streaming platforms.
Everywhere. We're everywhere.
All of the things.
Exactly. And I think with that, remember, refuse to be clueless, careless, or caught off guard.
Not today, murderers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.